You're listening to Sorry.
Today will be mostly sunny and pleasant, high of 80. Agree that.
You're listening.
당신은 지금 듣고 있습니다.
Вы слушаете.
Estás escuchando.
Una sikiliza
to GPSG Radio.
From the Indiana University.
El equipo de gobierno de los estudiantes graduados.
Graduate and Professional Student Government.
Welcome to episode 2 of GPSG Radio, the podcast for Indiana University's graduate and professional student government. I'm Rick Brewer. From the latest assembly news, interviews with graduate students and administrators, to our Bloomington foodie reviews, this podcast is a graduate student's guide to navigating life in Bloomington. Say hi to GPSG on Facebook and Twitter at IUBGPSG. And be sure to subscribe to our weekly newsletter by emailing iugpsg@indiana.edu. It comes out every Tuesday. Coming up in the show today, our first restaurant feature, coming from the historic Irish Lion on Kirkwood Avenue, where you'll learn more about their authentic Irish cuisine.
If someone's coming here for one time for one dish, I would have to recommend our rack of lamb.
And you'll also hear from Zach Coates, a PhD candidate in the Jacobs School of Music, specializing in vocal performance.
I don't know of any other school that invests as much money and resources into production quality and production value.
Be sure to stay tuned in for our Song of the Week, as we end each episode of GPSG Radio with a tune from a local Bloomington artist or band. This week, our song comes from the band Double Standard.
Oh, what do you mean? Am I crazy? Love affair is a dream.
But first, the latest news in GPSG.
Thank you very much, Rick. I'm Shay, and here's this week's news. We are continuing with the elections and nominations process for GPSG representatives. Nominations will be closed starting on Tuesday at midnight. Then the next morning, Wednesday, we're going to begin with voting. So that email will come out to you on Wednesday. You just follow the link and vote for your department's representative. A few things to keep in mind. You're going to have to utilize your IU email address. You can only vote once with that address, and you can also only vote within your department. You can't vote for another department's representative, or your vote will not be counted. To make sure that you are using your email address, once you cast your vote, an email confirmation will come to you. So if you get an email confirmation and you did not cast a vote, you need to immediately email me at iugpsg@indiana.edu, and we will take care of it. There's also a few exciting things happening this weekend. Friday evening, the Kelly School and the Maurer School of Law are co-hosting an event with Grateful Dead cover band and 70s attire encouraged at the Bluebird Friday evening. You can find out all the details on Facebook, and it is open to all graduate and professional students. And this weekend is also Labor Day weekend, so enjoy that extra day and chill out before we have to come back and get back to work. I don't know about you, but I'm definitely ready for a mini vacation already. That's it for the news this week, and now back to you, Rick.
The Irish Lion is located in one of the oldest buildings in Bloomington, a former brothel. The Irish Lion is known for its authenticity, from its walls full of taxidermy and wooden ships to its shepherd's pie and Irish music. The Irish Lion is through and through the best place to get a taste of Ireland. And in this interview, you'll hear from General Manager Jeremy Forcier and bartender Ian Garrett. And I started our conversation by asking, why do people like going to the Irish Lion?
Well, basically, the authentic Irish pub feel is a lot of the reasons why people come here to the Irish Lion. We are known for our yards and half yards of beer. So that brings a lot of people here to the Irish Lion. We get a lot of people from all over the world that come here to see the Irish Lion. So all of the wood and what you describe as the taxidermy and the ships and all of the characteristics of the building and the uniqueness of the feel of the restaurant. That's why people come here for the restaurant.
Now, when it comes to signature dishes, I know the Irish Lion has a really good menu, a lot of seafood. If someone's coming here only one time, what do they have to get on the menu?
Well, that's a hard question to answer. If someone's coming here for one time for one dish, I would have to recommend our rack of lamb. Lamb is traditionally an Irish dish, and our rack of lamb is delicious. So you come here, you want to definitely try our rack of lamb.
Why do you think graduate students would like coming to the Irish Lion?
Well, we have a lot of grad students that come here, actually. It's more of a laid-back atmosphere. We're not the club-style pub, you know. You come out, you can relax, have a drink, have a good conversation. We have, like I said, a great whiskey selection. So that's a big draw for a lot of grad students, I think, is to be able to come out and have more of an adult-style time out.
Yeah. So, as a mixologist, bartender expert here, your go-to whiskey or cocktail is?
My go-to cocktail is our old-fashioned. We make a Stillwater old-fashioned here. We do a brown sugar simple syrup. We use a nice rye. It's great. It's one of my favorite cocktails here for sure.
St. Patrick's Day is probably your biggest day of the year. Describe what that day is like.
Well, St. Patrick's Day for us is like our Super Bowl, if you will. It is definitely our busiest day of the year. It is a fun day. It is like a party in here, basically. People come here. They wait in line for sometimes an hour, 2 hours for a table because they want to be a part of the party-like atmosphere that is here for St. Patrick's Day. And everybody here just wants to have a good time, drink a Guinness, and just experience what it's like to be here at the Irish Lion for St. Patrick's Day.
Maybe be Irish for just one day of the year, right?
Just one day of the year. Everybody's Irish that day.
Where exactly are you located one more time?
We are located a half a block west of the square on Kirkwood Avenue.
Where can people find you online, and do you have a social media presence?
Online, you can find us at www.irishlion.com. You can also take a virtual tour of our restaurant on our website, which is really cool. We also have a Facebook page. Just look up Irish Lion, and we are also on Twitter, too, at the handle at Irish Lion, and that's where you'll be able to find us.
Well, Jeremy, thanks so much for coming on the program. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having us. We look forward to seeing everybody who doesn't normally come here or wants to give us a try.
Jeremy Forcier and Ian Garrett, General Manager and Bartender at the Irish Lion. Don't forget about our Song of the Week, as we'll hear from Double Standard and their lead track off their most recent album, Standard Deviation. But coming up next, our Student Spotlight segment. Each week, GPSG Radio features interviews with graduate and professional students from all across the Bloomington campus. Please enjoy this week's guest, Zach Coates. Welcome to another Student Spotlight here on GPSG Radio. Joining me today is Zach Coates, a PhD candidate in the Jacobs School of Music, concentrating on vocal performance. Now, you might remember Zach as the sergeant from The Daughter of the Regiment, an opera that was part of Jacobs' ballet and theater series for the 2016-17 season. So, Zach, the opera, singing, where did this all begin?
Oh, what a story. Well, it all started when I was a kid. I had a lot of really strange and varied interests, and one of the things I really was interested in and wanted to do, and maybe even pursue as a career, was to be a Shakespearean actor.
Okay.
And I was going into high school with this sort of aspiration in the back of my mind, and I had done some things with the drama department in that high school before, and the teacher told me, I'd love to cast you in the shows, but all the shows that we do here are musicals, and you can't sing to save your life. So if you want to be in the shows, you have to go and get voice lessons. And I really didn't want to do it because I grew up in a small little rural town, and so voice lessons, that was something that girls did. Boys did sports, and that was sort of the end of the discussion. But I did it. I really wanted to be in the shows, and so I bit the bullet, started taking voice lessons, And within a year or two, I realized, oh, okay, this is what I want to do, not the Shakespearean thing.
What are some of the stereotypes you hear surrounding the opera, and are any of them true?
There are lots of stereotypes about opera because I think it's been around for so long and so few people in our modern society really pay attention to it or bother to go a lot. And so we end up with a lot of these, every opera singer's fat and every opera is very serious and moody and somebody always dies. And, those things, there's truth to those things, but I wouldn't say that they're necessarily true. I mean, there are very many fit and attractive opera singers. That's all over the place now. And some of my favorite operas are outrageous comedies, which are not serious. Sort of like you mentioned with Daughter of the Regiment. Daughter of the Regiment is not a serious thing. You're not going to leave in tears. Hopefully you'll leave laughing still.
Yeah, exactly, because the next question is, how much fun was it performing in the Daughter of the Regiment? And because it was a kind of opera I'd never seen before, because as you mentioned, I found myself laughing the entire time.
Yes. I love that. For me, that's the most fun I get to have on stage, is when I get to be a little less serious, make people laugh. Anytime you get to be on stage, for me, is a fun experience. It's like, playing pretend when you're a little kid, but you get to be an adult and have thousands of people watch you do it, and sometimes even get paid to do it. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, exactly. Now, I have a quick, small, embarrassing story about my first time when I went to the Daughter of the Regiment. So when I went, I was obviously blown away by the talent, but afterwards, the person I was with, I said, this is like my first week of grad school, or like the very beginning, so I didn't really know how Jacobs worked. I didn't know how renowned it was, so I said, wow, it was really nice for the people from Chicago or New York on tour to stop by Indiana, because I'm not kidding. Yeah. I'm not just saying that. I really had no idea how good the talent was until my friend goes, oh, they all go here.
Yeah.
And I was blown away. So what makes Jacobs School of Music one of the top music schools in the world?
Oh, man, that's a big question to ask. Just a singer. Come on, man. It's, it really is, when you're talking about opera, and I'll just talk about opera because you could talk about all the musicians and all the instruments at the Jacobs as being top class, but I'm not super qualified to do that. So when you're talking about the opera at the Jacobs School of Music, it's definitely one of the top 3 or 5 programs in this country. And there's a lot that goes into it. I mean, you can't ignore the incredible faculty we have here. I mean, we have people like Carol Van Ness, who most people probably won't know, but she is a world-famous opera singer who was singing all over the world by the time she turned 26, and to this day still has more performances of certain roles at the Metropolitan Opera in New York than any other singer does. And she's on the faculty here. There's also the incredible productions we put on here. I don't know of any other school that invests as much money and resources into production quality and production value. I mean, when you look at the sets, the costumes, everything in these shows, they're top-notch. Actually, the stage that we have here at the Musical Arts Center, it was designed to have the same dimensions backstage as the Metropolitan Opera stage.
Wow.
Specifically because it's geared to preparing students for that sort of performing experience, which takes a different sort of energy, a different sort of physicality than you would have in a smaller house. But, you come to Jacobs because you get that experience, which you're really not going to get at any other school that I'm aware of in this country.
So when you're not in the practice room or in rehearsals or maybe working on your research, what can I find you doing?
Oh, boy. Well, I'm a huge nerd. I'm a mega nerd. So I will stop down at, if you don't know about it, Common Room Games on, whatever it is, it's by College Mall. It's a place for, board games and card games.
Okay.
I'm very into that sort of stuff. Whenever I can back out of the sort of deeply artistic, intellectual stuff and just sort of relax and play a game, and I love that. That's really fun for me. I also love cooking, so I cook. I tend to cook a lot. It's really helpful to be a good cook when you're a musician, because you do so much traveling around, and you rarely will get good kitchen things. So the more skills you can bring to the table and the more you can sort of improvise, the less you have to eat out as you're traveling all over the place and spending all the money you're making, because we don't get paid that much. So.
Okay. Yeah, no, I guess that segues nicely into my next question. So when you do go out to eat here in Bloomington,
yes.
what is your go-to spot?
Dats. 100% Dats. Don't even have to think about it.
Okay.
Love Dats.
Where is that?
So Dats is one of those little side streets off of 4th Street. It's a Cajun Creole place.
Oh, okay.
It's got a great little porch you can sit on, and it's super cheap, really good food. I would eat at Dad's every day if I could.
Now, when you look back at your Jacobs experience and your time spent here in Bloomington, what do you think you will remember the most?
You know, that's a really hard question to answer as well, because I mean, I'm tempted to say the shows that I've done, because I've done a whole lot of shows here, which again is not an experience I think I would have gotten anywhere else, and I'm incredibly thankful for it. I mean, we just did Peter Grimes last semester, which if you didn't see, you really missed a great show, because people never do that show anymore, and it's such an incredible piece. But I also want to say the people. You know, there's so many incredible people in this town, not just in Jacobs School, but everyone I've met in Bloomington. Well, maybe that's a stretch, but most of the people I've met in Bloomington have just been incredible, wonderful people to hang out with, chat with. It's just a really great energy in this town, and a really great sort of sense of community that I will definitely remember.
Well, Zach, it was a pleasure having you on the show. We hope to see you at some GPSG events this year, and good luck this year in the opera.
All right, thanks a lot.
Zach Coates, a PhD candidate from the Jacobs School of Music. If you'd like to be featured on the Student Spotlight segment, email Rick at gpsgcdc@indiana.edu. Well, that about does it for this episode of GPSG Radio. Don't forget to subscribe for our weekly automatic downloads, and say hi to GPSG on Facebook and Twitter at IUBGPSG. We end today's show with our Song of the Week. Double Standard is a pop fusion quartet formed in Bloomington who recently dropped their first album, Standard Deviation. You can find their music at doublestandardmusic.com, Bandcamp, and also check out their Facebook page at Double Standard Stuff. Now I give you Crazy Love Affair by Double Standard.
I met a guy who took me to Italy, the Middle East, then to London, Paris. We'd eat our buffets, we'd stay laughing and dancing, and we'd be so glad. His eyes were like stars, they drive over galaxies. Oh, what do you mean? That my crazy love affair is a dream. And oh, how can this be? That my crazy love affair is when I'm sleeping, I dream. As I sigh, put on me flowers and kiss my feet, and as we chanted, so granted, paint worlds in the street, we'd be bragging, hard dragging, princess, he'd call me. I'm his detective, and he's my favorite mystery. Oh, what do you mean? That my crazy love affair is a dream. And oh, how can this be? That my crazy love affair is when I'm sleeping, my dreams, in my dreams. Met a guy who took me to Italy, the Middle East, then to London, Paris. We'd eat our buffets, we'd stay